Chairman, we're live.
Welcome back to our July 7th meeting. Next up on our agenda is the conversation with McCall around their impact area. Welcome to the hearing. Today we're completing the review of the McCall impact boundary proposal and to hear constituents that will be impacted by this change. We've received many letters for and against the proposed map that was presented to the county by the city for consideration, along with a proposed modification to the city proposed boundary. And this is the opportunity to speak for or against the requested change. The purpose of today's meeting is to consider a request from the city of McCall to modify the current area of impact boundary. The request was received on May 16th, which gives the county 90 days to make a decision. The board has reviewed the request from McCall and has also proposed an alternative boundary with the required ordinance amendments and are hearing testimony on the draft ordinance 2025-06, City of McCall impact boundary as well. We've set time aside for the city to present information in support of their proposal, and then we want to hear from the public. So today we're addressing Idaho Code 67-6526, and it requires us to consider specific criteria. We keep going over these, but we'll do it again for today's meeting. The anticipated commercial and residential growth, geographic factors, transportation infrastructure and systems, including connectivity, areas where public sewer and water are expected to be provided within 5 years, other public service districts. The McCall area of impact boundary cannot exceed the areas that are very likely to be annexed within the city within the next 5 years and cannot extend more than 2 miles if the other factors are met. Except as otherwise provided in this paragraph, an area of impact shall not extend for 2 miles. One of the things we've gotten a lot of conversation about, and I just want to reiterate this is again in statute, the legislature finds that areas of impact are properly under the jurisdiction of the county because the elected representatives of the citizens in areas of impact are county officials, not city officials. So if you're here today to present testimony, please try to focus your comments on these specific topics, because people have asked why we're doing this so quickly. We are both in budgetary hearings right now and guidelines. So for both of our sakes, we need to get this process set so that both of us can make budgetary decisions. So based on the information we received today is when we will make a decision. So we don't anticipate doing that today. We will take public testimony today. As you can tell, we're going to be here for a while today. Want to hear from all of you. When it is your turn, the city's going to take the first 20 minutes and talk about their proposal. Everyone will have 3 minutes after that. Please, because of those around you also wanting to speak, please limit it to 3 minutes. We will have a timer. When you hear that timer, please wrap up. And then we will table it after the public input today. Do our due diligence on the information provided, and then we will schedule our next decision for July 23rd at 2 o'clock. So remember when we will be making our probably final decision. I won't say that, but July 23rd at 2 o'clock. Okay, let's get started. I'm gonna go and grab the sign-up sheets. First of all, have a few extra chairs up front that we can bring back.
Like you have to be closer to them. You have to speak pretty directly into them. Okay.
So have to make sure we have fire exit.
Might go back over. Okay.
One more chair there, one more seat here.
Somewhere up front. Right up here, right in front of the microphone.
All right. First up, City of McCall. Michelle, Forrest, Forrest,
gonna
Bob?
start.
Okay.
Good afternoon to everyone in the room. I wanted to thank you for inviting us to participate in today's hearing.
Bob, you're not gonna be picked up on the microphone, so you could stand at that one, yeah.
Thank you, all of you that showed up. It's really important to the city of McCall to make sure that folks have an opportunity to provide input, meaningful input. And I know it's, for many of you, it's a long drive. It's been a tough weekend, but thank you for being here. Wanted to cover a couple of quick items to introduce our topic. And that is the city council, those of us in the city of McCall, take this issue really seriously. Area of impact is a very serious topic. Probably the biggest issue that the city of McCall has wrestled with in the 11 years that I've served on city council. And all the council members feel that way. We see ourselves as partners in collaboration with the county. And we'll continue to see ourselves that way and do our best to cooperate, to be a full partner, recognizing that the county makes the final decision. The area of impact has been in existence for nearly 5 decades, almost 50 years. We think it's been working pretty well. Things can always be improved. Boundaries can be tweaked and changed. But we feel like it's provided for stability for those of you that live in the city, those of you that live out in the county and in the impact area. When I say stability, I mean some certainty. What will happen to your property values, for example? The change that is being proposed by the county that you'll be able to comment on today is about a 97% reduction. So think of an area of impact that may be somewhere around 20,000 acres and being decreased to something just slightly over 600 acres. That's a big change. We think that's a really big change in the city. Because of that, honestly, we're feeling left out. The city's feeling ignored. The city's feeling very disappointed in that drastic of a change. I've talked to many mayors in the state of Idaho, and no one is seeing this interpretation of the new state law in this fashion, where an impact area has been drastically reduced. The most frustrating thing to the council, to me, is the mayor, the city staff, and our city manager, is that to date, we have not been briefed in a public meeting about what is broke. What is it we're trying to fix with going from over 20,000 acres to only 600 and some odd acres? We don't know. We honestly don't know. So with that background, I'm going to introduce Forrest Atkinson. He's our city manager, and he is going to present to you the official city position on our proposal. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll present from the table. Can you hear me? Is it picking it up? Okay. First slide. So I'll try and go quickly because I realize that the most important part of this is for you to hear from the public. But
Can't hear him back here.
how about that?
Can you turn it up at all?
I could just go from. Is that working?
Yeah.
Okay. first, I just want to quickly flag the concerns that we have with the county proposed map that has been circulated in the hearing. So I think the first couple issues that we see with that are just that it's not aligned with the adopted 2018 McCall Area Comprehensive Plan or the Valley County Comprehensive Plans, the future land use maps that were adopted with those plans. There is no supporting data or technical rationale provided to understand how the boundary was developed. You have three parcels or parcel areas, as the mayor said, totaling approximately 600 acres out of the original over 22,000. So it's a massive reduction. Lack of statutory justification. We do not believe that the county proposed AOI meets Idaho Code 67-6526 criteria, nor is it the only possible boundary that would meet this code, if indeed it does. In the code, the 5 criteria shall be considered is what the legal language said, but they don't all have to be met. And based on the commissioner's comments in public meetings, there seems to have been an emphasis on meeting all the criteria, especially sewer service. But I would like to just note on annexation, it's not a strict requirement that all public services be provided immediately. And additionally, the county on the one hand is ruling out areas because they don't have sewer. On the other hand, you're taking out areas, for example, around the lake that are in the AOI in sensitive environmental areas that are already connected to sewer. We also are concerned about the public process. Up till now, there's been no specific public engagement completed by the county other than the work session, which was on a regular Monday during the workday, where only people who own property in the impact area were invited to speak. The county did publish in mail the public notice, but it only included the county's proposal and didn't include the city's requested modification. And then our notice only came 28 days before the hearing, the city's notice, which it's a little bit unclear to us whether that's what's in the statute when it's a city-initiated proposal, or how you're considering the proposal to be initiated. The impacts of repealing McCall-specific area of impact codes would be to impose a generalized rural development standard that doesn't fit the character or planning needs of the McCall area and would not meet the goals of the comprehensive plan. There's a risk of loss of environmental protections, community identity, and development consistency in those 22,000 acres that would be affected. And it undermines nearly 50 years of coordinated planning and investment by the city, and will likely result in patchwork development around the city. So the big question for us is why eliminate a framework that is working? Next slide. So as the mayor mentioned, since 79, we've been working together on planning and zoning and building permit services in the AOI, providing predictability, efficiency, and fairness for property owners, developers, and residents. Our proposal is a modest data-driven modification that is legally required under new legislation passed last year. And our goal is to comply with the law while preserving the successful model of regional planning that we have had up till now. The 2024 update to the Idaho Code just requires areas of impact to be reviewed and potentially modified. We are not aware of such a dramatic change to the boundary or regulations in any other parts of Idaho. Next slide. So Valley County Commissioners requested a boundary map from the city of McCall. The proposal that we came up was built on 4 pillars: complying with statutory criteria, alignment with our own McCall Area Comprehensive Plan adopted by the city and the county, respect for public comment, and the future update process in 2026 of the comprehensive plan. And we undertook a specific study that used GIS model to incorporate 24 sets of data across those 5 statutory categories. Those criteria they shall be considered. Again, they don't have to all be met. I won't go over them again as Commissioner Maupin did. But the issue I would like to touch on is annexation. Annexation is functionally a voluntary process in Idaho. So our analysis and proposal focused on identifying areas that are suitable for annexation And the language in the statute doesn't require the county to limit the AOI to areas that will be annexed in the next 5 years, because there's no certain way to predict that. We don't know, for example, what landowners may propose in coming years. The language in the statute says likely to be annexed, so it's a matter of opinion and judgment. The county commissioners make that judgment call, but the city would hope and expect that the county will base their judgment call on facts, data, analysis, required process, and what creates the best long-term outcome and benefit for the community. Do you want to go to the next slide, Michelle? I'm not going to go into detail, but these are examples of the maps that we created and what they look like based on the criteria, weighting those criteria that were aligned with the 5 criteria in the statute. And then we created basically a suitability map, and you can see that on the next page, the result. So the analysis showed an area of impact that could be slightly bigger than what is existing today. Understanding that the commissioners were not feeling receptive to that, we came back with a proposal that was a slight reduction of the existing AOI, taking out a few parcels, and adjustments made to align with lot lines. The analysis included utilities, roads, parks, police, fire, and more areas where growth can be expected. And this transparent method is the foundation of our proposal on the area of impact boundary that was presented in May. Yeah.
Do you want to just explain the difference between existing on the map, like what the colors mean?
Sure. So there are kind of 3 main things you can see from that. Are for the brown gray area in the center is the existing city limits. There's a black and white dotted line that shows the existing area of impact boundary, and then there is a red and white dotted line that shows our proposed modified impact area boundary. And then the dark colored areas outside of that line are the areas that in our model came up as being suitable for inclusion in the area of impact, which we did not include ultimately. So this map, as I mentioned, was not sent to area of impact property owners or published as part of the public notice. I'll just talk briefly about administrative stability and joint planning. The existing AOI governance model, we think, works for the community. City staff administer land use reviews with agencies. There's a joint planning and zoning commission that has 3 commissioners appointed by the county commission. So there is county representation in that process. We feel the approach increases predictability for applicants, ensures development, matches adopted plans and policies, reduces the county's administrative burden, and it gives applicants in the area of impact proximity to services that they receive in McCall for those applications. The proposal to repeal the McCall specific codes and apply generalized county codes is a major policy shift. The McCall impact area is not comparable to other rural areas in Valley County and deserves planning tools appropriate to its unique setting, development pressure, and environmental sensitivities. And replacing decades of tailored zoning with a one-size-fits-all multiple-use zoning approach undermines the vision of the community and risks harm to the McCall area community character, environment, and economy. So I think the state statute really only required confirmation or modification of the boundary. Nowhere does the new law require repeal of zoning codes, or building permit administration. The state law and all that is really about the boundary. So what you're doing goes beyond that and is something you're choosing to do. I think just on public comment, we've shared this before, but we received 18 unique public comments between March and June regarding this issue. 65% of those reported maintaining the existing AOI framework. 11% said they thought it should be reduced or repealed. We didn't do in that what you did, which I think was very useful, which you broke down comments by area of impact or not area of impact. So according to your staff report, You received 127 comments since you released your proposal in May. Of those, 31 were area of impact property owners or residents who support the county proposal. There were another 3 who live in McCall or another part of the county that supported. In contrast, 43 AOI owners or residents opposed this proposal, and another 21 from other parts of the county and 17 from unidentified addresses. A majority of comments submitted from the AOI opposed the county proposal, and in total 81 submitted comments are in opposition. That's over twice the number that were submitted in support. The city had also planned for deeper public engagement during 2026 update to the McCall Area Comprehensive Plan. Again, we think that would be the right time to undertake this process and look at the boundary and make changes to administration. In the past, the city and the county have worked together through that process to implement the community's vision and ensure the right policies and regulations were in place. So looking forward, this is about the statutory foundation and maintaining good faith cooperation. We urge the commissioners to adopt the city's proposed boundary, maintain current area of impact codes and joint administration, and defer big changes until the 2026 comp plan update. Thanks again to commissioners and to the audience for your time. We are proud of our joint planning successes between the city and the county that include numerous state and national awards, and we're eager to continue working together for the benefit of the community. Thanks. Sorry if I went over.
I don't know how much time you guys have left, but do you have anything you want to add?
I do not.
No? Okay.
I have a shaky.
But we all. Okay, thank you. Obviously, we do have some disagreements between the city and the county right now. So even our legal teams are not seeing things in that state code. I did ask specifically your attorney whether there were "and" in between these statements, and he said yes. So we do believe that these things need to be looked at and identified in the state statute. So we most definitely are reading it differently. And I will respond to one thing, Mayor Bob, is McCall has been different in the way that we have worked together than any other city and county, because the city has had they have been working in that impact area under what we've adopted city codes, so they become county codes. But that's not prevalent in Idaho. So there is a difference in our region than other areas in the state. So I think that we're highlighting some of those differences now. And I haven't addressed those in public because we did it privately. I didn't feel comfortable addressing what the issues were between us. So if we need to do that in a public meeting, I'm happy to do that. But I didn't address those in public with reasons. So, okay, we will go in. We're gonna do this basically follow, excuse me? I understand that. We're gonna do this basically just like we would hold a regular public hearing. So we'll take our staff report. We've already had our proponent. There is no ex parte in a judicial matter, so we won't worry about that. But we would like to hear from everybody. So staff report up next.
Okay, the staff report for the McCall Impact Area, ordinance number 2025-06, City of McCall Impact Area Boundary, changes to Valley County Code 7-1 and 6-1-2, and then the modification to City of McCall request. The background in 2024 Idaho State Code 676526 for impact areas adjacent to cities was changed. Valley County is currently working with each city to adjust their impact area boundaries to meet the criteria specified. The deadline for compliance with the state statute is December 31st of 2025. Summary of the Idaho Code 676526. The legislature finds that areas of impact are properly under the jurisdiction of the county because the elected representatives of citizens in areas of impact are county officials, not city officials. While cities should receive notice of and may provide input on applications brought to the county in an area of impact, cities do not govern or control decisions on those applications. County commissioners make the final determination regarding areas of impact boundaries within the county. An area of impact is where the growth and development are expected to occur. Areas of impact should be planned for growth and development and should not be used to stop growth and development that conforms to applicable plans and ordinances. Areas of impact should be established, modified, or confirmed based on the ability and likelihood of a city or cities to annex lands within that area of impact in the near future. And then I won't go into all the rest of that statute that was listed in the staff report, which is on the Valley County website. And I also listed here Idaho Code 50-222 concerning annexation. And the piece I would like to highlight there is that subject land may extend beyond city of area impact if the land is contiguous to the city and the comprehensive plan includes the area of annexation. So removing something from an impact area will not prohibit future annexation. Chairman Mopin already covered the criteria. And then the applicable, and then it goes on E, the applicable county's comprehensive plan and zoning and subdivision ordinances shall apply in the area of impact. The county may adopt individual county comprehensive plan and zoning and subdivision ordinances provisions regarding a specific area of impact. And then findings, joint work sessions between the Board of County Commissioners and the McCall City Council after Idaho Code 676526 became effective on July 1st of 2024 were on the following dates. September 27th, 2024 at the City of McCall, March 3rd, 2025 at the City of McCall, May 5th, 2025 at the City of McCall. And then on May 16th, 2025, the City of McCall sent notice to the Board of County Commissioners requesting a modification to the existing McCall area of impact boundary with recommendations on the boundary, codes, and administration. The letter also put the county on notice that Idaho Code 676526 requires the county to make a decision on this request within 90 days. The 90 days gave the Board of County Commissioners until August 14th to set the new boundaries by ordinance, which expedited the process. The county may accept, reject, or modify a city's requested modification or confirmation regarding an impact area boundary, but if the county does not make a final decision on the request within the 90 days of submission, the city may petition the court to make a determination on the request pursuant to the subsection 5 of this section. And then on May 19th, the Board of County Commissioners held a work session to receive input from affected public. The board modified the City of McCall requested boundary and set a hearing for July 7th in order to comply with a 90-day timeline. A July 7th public hearing was set by the Board of County Commissioners on July 19th to hear a modification to what was proposed by the City of McCall, and then notices in compliance with Idaho Code 676509.
Cindy, I believe that there is a change that needs to be made there. That was set on June 19th, not July 19th.
Which one?
July 7th public hearing was set by the Board of County Commissioners on July 19th.
Oh. Actually, that should be May 19th. Thank you. Legal notice for July 7th. Public hearing was posted in the Star News on June 12th and June 19th. Potentially affected agencies, including the City of McCall, were notified by either an email or postal service on June 9th. Property owners within the current boundaries of McCall impact area were notified by fact sheet sent through the postal service on June 13th. The notice fact sheet was also sent for posting at the post offices and city libraries in Cascade, Donley, and McCall, and the notice was posted on the Valley County website on June 9th. Revised maps were added to the website on June 11th. Agency comments received. Kendra Conder stated Idaho Transportation Department does not have any comments. Carleen Oberg stated the Boise Regional Department of Environmental Quality has no comments at this time. City of McCall sent a letter to the board invoking the 90-day timeline and the requested area of impact in accordance with Idaho Code 6765263BC. On June 24th, Will Punkany, legal representative for the City of McCall, submitted a public records request pursuant to Idaho Code 74-102, requesting the following: all written notices of any public meeting or hearing required by Idaho Code 676526 as a prerequisite for modifying the existing McCall area of city impact. And then he wanted proof of mailing and delivery for all of those notices. All documents and records of communication of any kind or nature between and among the Valley County Commissioners, Valley County employees discussing, analyzing, or otherwise related to the McCall area of city impact during the time period from January 1st of 2023 to present. And then all requests herein include any public records that are not subject to disclosure under Idaho Code Title 7-4, Chapter 1. The city of McCall sent an email asking people to attend the public hearing, and that was on June 27th. City of McCall submitted written comments for the public hearing, which included their analysis of impact area, adopted 2018 comprehensive plan, responses received by the city of McCall. This document was provided in a notebook and was emailed to the board, printed by staff for the board, and posted on the Valley County website. Valley Soil and Water Conservation District submitted a letter with a packet of information attached, including comparison of McCall versus county requirements, fact sheet for code comparison, waterway shore zones, recommended water quality impoundment requirements, and comprehensive plan amendment recommendations, and that was posted on the Valley County website. Forrest did a very nice job of summarizing all of the public submittals, so I won't go through that again. Staff analysis. Attached is an analysis of considerations and issues prepared by staff. A more thorough analysis of individual codes can be found in the Valley Soil and Water Conservation District submittal. Attached is the annexation map for the city of McCall from the State Tax Commission, showing annexations that have occurred since 2002. Idaho Code 50-222, annexation by cities, was amended and became effective July 1st of 2024, and that limits cities' abilities to annex. And then also attached is a worksheet listing the criteria to consider for when you're preparing your deliberations. Proposed impact area boundaries and governance. This current hearing is step 1, and that's ordinance 2020-506 draft with adopted McCall impact area boundary and amend the building code. The Board of County Commissioners have modified the city of McCall's requested McCall impact area boundary based on state statutes that they would like to be effective within designated timelines. And then future hearings would be step 2, which would be to amend a comprehensive plan and ordinance, and then the final outcome. Since that staff report was completed, we've received additional testimony, and Thursday before we left, we posted all of that on the website and sent it to each county commissioner via email. And we also received more today, and we sent that through the email, and we will post it on the website as soon as it's redacted. And that ends my staff report.
All right. The next step then is we will move into testimony. And first up will be testimony of proponents. So when you speak, please just give your name and not your address, but just the city in which you reside, and 3 minutes. So first up, I have a W.J. Edwards.
Good afternoon. Thank you
If you want to speak, if you want to come to the microphone, this is being recorded and listened to, so.
It's very effective at PZs if they just line up. Then you shouldn't have to.
So Mr. Edwards is going to be first. Lawrence and Diane Alves is next. So if we want to make a short line, that might make it. Just, I'll call out the next ones.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Edwards. I reside in McCall. Heard a lot of comments today from the city, from the county, etc. And I support the county's position on this matter. Living in the city of McCall, my subdivision was annexed over 25 years ago. And I heard a lot of wonderful things that the city would like to do with these annexed and proposed lands. But the reality is, many people don't get these things, okay? Our subdivision was annexed, I believe, around 2000, around that time frame, about 25 years ago. But we have city water, we don't have city sewer. The city sewer is not likely to come anytime soon. The city does not maintain roads out past about the smoke jumper base. We promised that that Mission Road would be upgraded when they did Mission this year or last year. It never happened. So think in terms of reality, not promises. How is this impacting your neighborhood, your street, your home, et cetera? We all know that property taxes in the city are higher than property taxes in the county. In other words, you get what you pay for. And sometimes you don't get what you pay for. So in summary, I'm in support of the county. I think they've made some good rational decisions. Yes, there's going to be more growth. I think the county is in a good position to manage the growth without extending the limits of the city and getting things that you promise, but you don't actually get. Thank you.
Thank you. So, because we're gonna be here so long, please no response. Okay. Hey, Diane?
Yes, I'm Diane House. We're in Valley View Estates 1.
Okay. Can we, hold this, please?
We made our statement last time, so I'm not gonna repeat it, but we are not for the impact zone. We're happy where we're at. We are happy with what the county has given us. We also have the sewer, and we have septic, I'm sorry, and we have a well, and we don't want to change what we have. We have county taxes. I made a statement at the hearing or the meeting that was held on the 2nd at our little table, and I was kind of sort of yelled at by somebody who works for the city that I pay taxes or lower taxes, and yet I want all the services that the city provides. Well, I do shop in the city. I use the gas that the city provides. I use the grocery stores. So my pay is going to support the city. And I was offended by what they said because just because I pay county taxes, and I made the choice when I moved to McCall to live in the county because of the lower taxes. But yes, I do support the city of McCall. And I was offended by what they said. So just because I live on the outside of the city doesn't mean I don't support the city of McCall. But yet I don't want to have my area changed. Yes, I guess I live right now in the impact zone, but that doesn't mean I want things changed. I love my community. I love where I live. It's a beautiful area. And we have people that, like me, are retired, but we also have people who are doctors and business owners who work in your city. So, support us too, who make the choice that may not want to be annexed in the future. I came from an area that was a small town. We had horses and cows at the end of our street that got homes that were built around us, and then stores and shops, and overwhelmed, and our taxes quadrupled. So when we retired, we wanted to come to a small town, and that's what we thought we were going to be living in, as a small town that has swelled in the 8 years that we have lived here. Okay, but thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Lawrence?
With her,
You good? Okay. Up next is Craig Wassam. Then after that, it's gonna be whoever's representing Valley View 1, I believe.
I think it's important to focus on voluntary annexation. I'm here to speak for the citizens, not for some legal document. And I appreciate what you guys are doing, protecting the county citizens. I really am. I appreciate the fact that you're protecting us. For the last 50 years, a lot of people have already put in their infrastructure. We've built roads, we've put our septic tanks in, we've got our wells. And I'd like to know, by show of hands, how many people here are in the city? How many?
In McCall?
Yeah, city of McCall. Let's see it. Come on. Tell the truth.
Craig, give us your.
Well, why is it the city citizens are so concerned about us who want to be left out of the city? Because we respect and appreciate what the county has done for us. And the city has nothing to offer us except taxes, we get to give them taxes. I don't like the fact that they sent out a notice a week or two ago with all this opinion about it. If they're gonna send out a notice, just send a notice, the date and the place. Don't try to put your propaganda in your notice about, oh, well, you know, this is really bad, or you gotta get up there and protect the city. No, I'm there to protect the citizens of the county who thankfully have representatives who represent the citizens of the county and not the citizens of the city who want to expand and get more income. Thank you very much.
Oh, no responses, no responses, thank you. Is someone representing Valley View One? I have View One. I did forget, everyone needs to state your name and the city that you reside in.
Yeah, Mike Barton, Valley View One Sub, since 1978. So I think you guys got it right. It's got to be cut down. You're doing the right, you're going the right direction. Make it simpler for the citizens of the county and for the people of the city. There's certainly a need for some of it, especially for large tracts of land that haven't been developed yet. That's what you can guide. Valley View One was put into the impact area, and it was already in place. So you put a subdivision, there's no planning and zoning, you go on out there. So that's why we went out, and we won't be annexed, we're out. So basically, you know, I'd suggest that, you know, you think about the land that they could choose a direction for, the large tracts. As far as the sewer district goes, that's tying the city's hands, of course. That needs to be fixed right, not another Band-Aid. And so the city and the sewer district need to get together and figure that out. That's a tough one. Let's see here. So the other big thing is the a little bit lower taxed income that people enjoy around the county. And these are the people that work in and around the city. They're local workers. You throw a few $100 worth of more taxes on their property, and they're not gonna be there. That's just where we're at. You're not gonna get the kind of employees, permanent employees, to live in houses in an apartment in cities. They just need a place to raise a family. That just starts a lot of problems when that starts happening. It's not the people, you want families. So that's kind of where we're at. We've been in it and not happy with the results. Basically, you got city people coming out and getting in our stuff. We don't vote for you folks. And it's just wrong. As far as, you know, working with the county, I think you're trying to do that, but there's a lot of you know, people just aren't happy about the way the impact area has been working. I mean, the last meeting, right in the middle of the meeting, city, county, you know, there's an argument over short-term housing. Took up 15 minutes or so. I mean, this is 2025. Been in it for forever. It's a gray area. Gray area that's not helpful for the citizens for sure. Really tough to deal with.
Thank you for your input. We gotta have you wrap up.
Okay, and we're good.
And I need to backtrack just a little bit, because I had two people in the crowd that I promised I would get up front. One of them's our director of our road department. Dan, you needed to get back to a meeting at 3, and I apologize for not getting you up with the staff. So come on up.
Hello, Dan Kuntz, I'm the Public Works Engineer for Valley County. And we got quite the crowd, so it's very appreciative that you guys, you know, provide input, because it's really imperative that good decisions are made that way. You know, really in terms of working with the city, the time and the effort that your staff has provided me, and I'm hoping vice versa, has been very, imperative as I was kind of new here to my position, so I really appreciate that. The other thing I want to make sure is that we're essentially managing the routes in that area of impact, and we're not going to change much of how we operate, except for when we need, input from you guys. So that's where a lot of the information that we get, we try to manage that way. But also, I want to make sure that you guys understand that we do have limited funds, right? I mean, that's what we're dealing with as the road department, because primarily a lot of our budget comes from just gas tax and new registrations. So there's no property tax that the road department gets, which is, we got kind of hit with limited funds from our Forest Service group. So it kind of hit us pretty hard, but know that we'll always, be there and provide services, in that area. So kind of all I was going to say, unless you have questions.
No, I think we just wanted to make sure that people understood as far as transportation and the concerns for transportation, we already manage that area. So that is not under the city's purview. Thank you. I'll release you back to your meeting. And Jeff, did you need to, Jeff Bateman is here with the sewer district, and I told him that he'd get back to other business.
I don't really want to say, other than in April, the board did pass our master plan, which was started in about 2020, 2020. At that time, Lyle was there, Michelle was there, and we all agreed on keeping the district boundary and using the density map we have in place right now. And April 19th, that's when the district board approved the master plan with the district density boundary map that we have in place from annexation.
So you don't plan of leaving the boundaries as they currently are within the next 5 years?
I don't see it happening, but that's overall board decision.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
All right. So Mike Radin, you were Valley View, is that correct? Okay. Carrie Potter.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you for all you do. Carrie Potter, McCall. I'm just going to read the letter that I submitted originally. I am in support of the county assuming full management of the AOI rather than continuing with city oversight. For nearly 50 years, the city has governed the AOI without extending critical infrastructure such as water and sewer services to the area. Now, under updated Idaho law, the city is required to provide these services or risk losing control of the AOI. Valley County is simply following the law and enforcing the compliance with these new requirements. Furthermore, the AOI residents have had no voting power over the policies that govern them. Since the AOI follows McCall's adopted city code rather than county ordinances, property owners are subject to the city regulations without having a voice in city elections. The lack of representation creates an inequitable system where the AOI residents are held to standards they had no say in creating. In addition, the oversight structure has resulted in confusing and insufficient processes for residents navigating permitting and land use regulations. This actually came full front in my business. We had a homeowner building in the White Cloud subdivision in which the area of impact splits it in half. We actually submitted our building permit to the county originally, not knowing that that was the case. So this caused double the permitting fees, increased excavation costs because we had to relocate the RV garage and the home, and then we had to go through additional design review meetings in regards to that. So the inconsistencies between city and county processes, they lead to the unnecessary delays and increased costs, particularly with the construction and development. Transitioning the AOI to be controlled completely by the county would eliminate this confusion, ensuring a clearer and more transparent system that better aligns with the needs of the rural property owners. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Next up, Levi Henderson. I think it's Levi Henderson. Oh, Mr. Henderson. Okay, Tom Bates.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. Tom Bates, I'm in the area impact in West Place subdivision. And if I understand correct, that will stays in the map, the area of impact that's going to be remaining within the city. Is that correct? West Place subdivision?
A proposed map by the county, I think,
Yep.
splits that.
Okay.
So I don't know where your property is. but-
I support the county's changes that they're making. I do think a great deal of confusion lies in the reading of the statute, and I'm curious if there's been any question to the state attorney general looking for clarity that seems to exist. Confusion exists between the city and the county on the interpretation there, and has any resolution been sought at a higher level?
We both have full legal counsel, so yes.
Have you gone above your legal counsel to the state at all?
We haven't, I mean, that is, no.
Okay. Great deal of people here, great many people concerned with our community. It's a great community. We have a lot of wonderful things going. I know this has brought out a lot of emotion in people. You know, personally, I like a little less government in my life. Not everybody feels that way, but that's where I'm at and where I live, and I'd prefer to have the county just having straight oversight over my property, and that's where my votes go. I again appreciate everybody's interest. I think it would be helpful to have some resolution to the statute questions as the interpretation of this whole situation, the county's data inputs that drove their map. There wasn't a go, no go, if you will, that I think the statutes as they're interpreted by the county and perhaps in my mind provide. The city can't expand sewer services for the next 5 to 10 years. Does that just stop any growth? And should there be an area of impact based on that? The city believes no, there should be an area impact. And I think as we look at the statute hard and fast, then maybe not. Some resolution there at a higher level, perhaps when we have county and city attorneys disagreeing, to bring a little clarity. It's just an opinion. I appreciate the opportunity to talk today.
Thank you, Tom. I did sit in on the legislative hearings. I think a lot of this, unfortunately, and I'll just make this statement, we're the body that has to implement state statute and state code. We don't always agree with what the state comes up with either. A lot of these concerns are ones with your legislation, the legislation that's passed, and state statute is not always clear. I mean, we run into that a lot, but I did sit through all of those hearings, and I know what the intent was, so now it's just the reading of that. So, are there anyone else that is a proponent? Okay, go ahead and come up and give us your name and.
Thank you. My name is Joe DeClaire. I live in McCall. I started working into this area in the 70s on the railroad. We've been coming up here since the 80s, and we bought and have a home in McCall since the early 90s. I came here thinking today that I just read this letter in the paper being opposed to what is going on here and what you guys are proposing to do. And what I'm getting from a lot of you guys is that the county really is unhappy. There's a lot of people in the county that are unhappy with what is interacted between the city and the county. And it's going to mess up what this thing you're proposing to do. And it seems like you guys should be on the same page. Also, that whether it's taxation or that some things are happening as far as services for the county, those things should be remedied. Those things should be figured out, whether it's EMS or it's fire protection or it's street maintenance or whatever it is. Those things, hey, this is where you guys really get together and find out where that's at so that it doesn't cause these hardships for the people living in the county or anywhere else in the whole McCall included. I'm looking at this letter that says that, hey, there are some things that are going to take power away from what the city's all about and being able to go forward and be well represented. And it's sad that something like that should happen, and that we're looking at things going on around Payette Lake. We're looking at things happening in our area that are going to make it worse. And it's going to turn into, I look at what's happening going down 55 and all the construction and stuff like that, and the beauty of what the area is all about is being really impacted by a lot of construction. And a lot of us are really concerned about that. And so I think, hey, yeah, I can understand people coming in here and the city has messed them up, or the city taxes have been unfair about what they're all about. Hey, I'd be in here, dude, being upset about it. But at the same time, I think the city needs to be more represented and more inclusive in what it is that you guys are doing going forward. And I speak to the city like, hey, I think you're on the right side of what this is all about, but at the same time, the county and things that have happened in the county have to be recognized too. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else?
Proponent. So my name is Joseph Hill. We have property both in the impact area as well as in the city of McCall. And one of the things I do want to bring to people's attention that might not be aware, we actually had a home that we owned that was quote unquote not voluntarily annexed in, but we were forced. And in that process, when we actually became part of the city of McCall from the impact area, we had to actually connect to the city sewer and the water. And it ended up costing us probably close to $30,000 for having to go through that process. And so it's going to be important for people to kind of recognize if you're going to be in the city sewer in the water district, that there's going to be some additional cost. It's not just a simple fee that you're going to be transitioning from one geographic destination into another. There's going to be some hard costs associated with doing so. And we're in the process right now of potentially putting a duplex on a particular unit. So I'm going to spend money on putting in a leach field, a septic system. And if in 5 years, 10 years, now I'm going to be forced to actually spend money to actually connect to the city sewer, that's another hard cost that I have to conclude will occur at some point. So I'm for the county staying the way it is. And then if there's, a new insight as to how we could transition someone that's living in the impact area, it would make sense to somehow soften the exchange of funds going from one designation into the other.
Thank you. Are there other proponents? No, we are not responding. We're not responding either way. Are there any other proponents? So these are the ones that are in favor of not adopting or amending the city's proposal. Okay, moving on. We have Leonard Long, Cascade. Leonard, are you representing yourself or are you representing?
I'm representing Valley Soil and Water Conservation District. I'm an associate supervisor. Art Troutner, the chairman of the board, couldn't make it today, asked me to step in. Commissioners, and by the way, I live here in Cascade. Thanks for the opportunity to address the commissioners. One of the things that we hear is a lot of angst in regards to the water quality aspects of this transition, if it's to take place. The city of McCall actually has some very good codes. One of the things that Valley Soil and Water Conservation District did was put together a comparison of codes for you folks, and we submitted it in a letter dated June 30th,
Thank you for that.
2025.
That's what we've been asking for, so I appreciate that very much.
That's
very
right.
helpful.
And what we're asking for is a chance to sit down with you folks and actually talk about bringing some of the county codes up to par. We think it might take some of the angst out of people who live around Lake Payette that are concerned about water quality if we can bring some of those codes up to par. And we're willing to work with Cinda and her group, Planning and Zoning, or sit down in a work group with you guys directly around this table. So just so everybody knows some of what we're talking about, the City of McCall defines a shoreline and river environmental zone of 150 feet. The county doesn't have an environmental zone. And what we're proposing is to actually have a shoreline zone for the county so it can protect Cascade and some of our riverfront properties. Building setback in the city right now from the lake, there's the McCall code calls for 50 feet and the county has 30 feet. And we think 50 feet is reasonable. There's design review and vista protections for the city of McCall, where the county doesn't really have any specific vista protections. There's landscaping buffers and codes dealing with that, scenic protection. And right now, the language in the county codes are pretty weak when it comes to landscaping. Stormwater certification, right now there's a training requirement in the city of McCall, and there's none in the county for those that are working in the environmental shoreline protection zones. And then there's some specific design criteria for treatment of stormwater first flush that the city has, and right now the county doesn't have that. By the way, the lake right now, Lake Cascade, is in really pretty good shape. If you'll notice this spring, we didn't have a lot of runoff. Most of the rains soaked in, so we didn't have a huge nutrient load
Okay.
like we did a few years ago.
We will talk further because we have been talking about increasing some of our ordinances and protections, and thank you for the list. It was great.
And we got your letter. Okay.
David Weiss is up next, and then right behind him it will be Eric Young, and then Adrian Quinn. David Weiss? Weist? We have David with us. Okay. And Eric Young? But Eric or Errol Young?
It's Eric.
Eric?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Before I make my written comments, I'd like to state that from what I understand, the type of zoning model the county uses is actually unusual in the state of Idaho. I don't know if that's totally accurate, but I do need to research that more. My name is Eric Young. I live at 793 Chad Loop in the McCall AOI. As written, I'm against this ordinance because you, my elected representatives, are using a simple boundary statute to take away my property rights, and that is related to the predictability of development around the city of McCall and around my neighborhood. The joint governance, AOI governance model, which absolutely needs improvement, has always been very clear to me. And I have to state, but the exceptions have been when this board has refused either to follow your own land ordinance rules or intentionally created other inconsistencies related to that management of the AOI. So that is a concern. The long-term protection of the health and vitality of Valley County requires cooperation between the city and county commissioners or officials. An exclusive government model in the areas around the city of McCall by either the county or the city is not a good thing. And unpredictable land use governance layered with inadequate staffing, unable to encourage, or more importantly, enforce best practices right up to the city of McCall boundaries is even worse. This will not protect the Payette Lake watershed or the city of McCall character, in my opinion. Multi-use zoning can be a good thing. Unfortunately, the VC implementation and processes of multi-use zoning clearly reduces and eliminates in many cases the predictability of development in Valley County. I grew up in an area with no building ordinances. In some ways, it kind of reminds me of the days I saw buildings built, houses built, and I got to watch them disappear into the permafrost later on. So, sorry about that story. Now you know where I grew up. A rezoning to the VC multi-use governance model is, again, I believe, a taking of my predictable and consistent property rights, and in my opinion, the residents living in and near the city of McCall. Until this commission improves the VC ordinances to protect the Payette watershed, I do not support this ordinance in its current form.
Thank you for your input. Adrienne Quinn?
Thank you, Chair Moppin and members of the Board of Commissioners for the opportunity to testify. I'm Adrienne Quinn, and I live in McCall, adjacent to the current area of impact. I am opposed to the county's proposal to shrink the area of impact and in favor of the city's proposal. I think the city has done a great job of balancing the property rights of the permit applicants and balancing the property rights of the adjacent property owners as well. They've also done a great job of balancing environmental interests, balancing views, and making sure that we preserve this beautiful area that we have while still allowing sensible development and allowing people to use their property reasonably. I'm sorry to say I don't see the same thing with the county code, and specifically I see lack of setbacks, lack of view corridors, lack of vegetation, and specifically what comes to mind is the development that has been happening recently south of the city on 55, the wall of storage units and other commercial uses that are going up. Now, I'm not against those uses. I'm a land use attorney. I've represented both developers and local jurisdictions, but I know it's possible to balance and to allow views to still happen, allow adjacent property uses to be consistent with each other, and allow the vegetation that has existed to continue to preserve this beautiful area. When I think about what's happening on 55, what comes to mind is a line from a Joni Mitchell song, which is pave paradise, put up a parking lot. And I hope we don't go there. Thank you.
Andrew Cochran? And behind Andrew is going to be Don Mattis and then Don Lojack.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm Andrew Cochran. I live in McCall. I'm a scientist, and I'm trained in natural resource management as well as science education. And I'm particularly interested in watershed management. It's a very complex field, and when it's done properly, it requires a vast array of expertise and experience from a number of people to properly manage a watershed. I don't think that would be accomplished by turning it over to just the county officials themselves. I think that the expertise and experience offered by the city of McCall in conjunction with the county folks and in conjunction with the Valley Soil and Water Conservation District is an acceptable and respectable way to manage our watershed. The reason I'm so interested in watershed management, not only do I find it fascinating, but it is the crown jewel of the area we live in. And if we don't take care of our watershed, none of our other concerns are going to make that much difference as our crown jewel disappears. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dawn?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Dawn Mattis. I live in McCall near the current area of impact boundary. And I'm going to read my comments, so please bear with me. Up to now, the discussion about the area of impact has focused mainly on asking people in the AOI if they want to be in it or not. I appreciate the opportunity to weigh in today, but I believe it's late in the process because the changes you are proposing are huge and would greatly impact all of us. Your plan almost entirely wipes out the AOI, which has been in place for 2 generations. It would end the joint planning and zoning in use for nearly half a century. It would remove traditional zoning for over 20,000 acres of land. It would nullify the comprehensive plan that has informed coordinated long-term planning and development for years. The changes will be felt throughout the AOI, McCall, Payette Lake, and connected lands and waterways. How? Look at land use. All land now in the AOI would be under the county's multiple use zoning. What are the downsides? Multiple use zoning removes predictability and protections for both existing and potential property owners about development that may occur around them. As one example of what can happen, look at the controversial Store It expansion. I have spoken to people in the AOI, and many are worried about even more storage facilities or unsavory or inappropriate businesses popping up all over. I fear more haphazard growth, including around Payette Lake. More commercial and industrial projects near people's homes, chains and big box stores that will destroy our scenic beauty, development that will degrade Payette Lake and connecting waterways, and harmful growth on public land. Think about the impacts to people's quality of life, not to mention property values and public safety. Think about the damage to our brand as a tourist destination. People come here for the wide open spaces and rural beauty. We are not Meridian, Cuna, or Star, and we shouldn't think that growth means we have to become like them. Consider the risks to the water quality and ecological health of Payette Lake and other waterways and the erosion of public access to open space and wildlife habitats. The county must comply with the statute, I get that, but you have discretion to make sure we comply while protecting our way of life. The statute lists criteria that should be considered, not must. It is not a mandate. And the law poses problems. I urge you to take issue with legislators about the language concerning annexation, because they recently made it much harder for cities to annex land. Several people here today have complained about the way the AOI has been managed, but the responsible answer isn't to wipe it away. Excuse me. The responsible approach is for the county and the city to work together to improve things. Mapping out the future of the AOI is a big, big deal for our community and region. Something this consequential demands plenty of input from all sides and efforts to accommodate and compromise. Hold public hearings in McCall at an hour when more stakeholders can weigh in. I'm hurrying. Come up with a plan that conforms with state code and serves all of our best interests. Thank you.
Thank you. Allie Smith from Donnelly. And next up's going to be Michelle and Craig Johnson.
Hi, I'm Kelly Smith from Donnelly. I've had experience with their planning and zoning when they had a board. I am mostly concerned with the trust of those of us in the community who aren't actively involved every day and every week with this planning process. And I'm distrustful of a vision of a scenic byway and expansion that is giving us the corridor from Lake Fork to McCall. In terms of the openness and the items that the previous lady just said, it seems to be that there's no regard to the fact that we're an open, beautiful community that's a resort community with a scenic byway, we need to protect those things, and the less input that the city of McCall has in the AOI, the more of that I trust is going to happen. So I'm for more cooperation and complete leaving or letting the AOI be as it is, not reducing it, and not having it be governed strictly by the Valley County Commissioners. I don't see the vision, I don't see the reasoning, and I think that more cooperation is involved. And the cities, Donley being one of them, who will probably come in line for this, are gonna need to have oversight as to where they expand and how they expand, because they're going to be incorporated somewhere in the future. So I would oppose it for those reasons. Thank you.
Downley's has been done, Kelly, so look and
I'm
see
sorry?
what, Downley's is already done, so look and see what
Okay,
was
well-
adopted. Michelle and Craig Johnson. Johnson's, okay, Becky Ryan. Then up behind Becky will be Rick.
Thank you all for letting us speak. I am a little bit mystified as to why this public hearing does not allow phone comments. I know other public hearings in which I've participated did allow public to call in. I know people who were not here who expected to be able to call in simply because they couldn't get off work and they couldn't make a phone call, or they were reluctant to drive on the traffic that we have right
We
now.
don't ever do phone calls in our
Oh, I
meetings.
have public hearings, yes ma'am. I have called into county commissioner
We
public
had
hearings
public
by myself and been rebuked because I didn't mute. So I remember it well.
During COVID, maybe, but yeah.
Mm,
Okay, it's all right, go
okay,
ahead.
No. So I really echo what Mayor Bob said about what is broken. And as I understand it, the state statute that is new does not require change or even drastic change. And so I wonder why, in the absence of telling us what is broken and what is wrong, why there is a 97% reduction in the area of impact. Wouldn't it be prudent, as the city has suggested, to step back and say we have a land management plan revision coming up in a year? Let's put this in abeyance and let's do what we call planning, because what we have here is a comprehensive change proposed without a comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plans involve expertise, lots of studies, and the input of people who not only live in the area of impact, as I do in McCall, but also who visit Valley County, but more live in Valley County and have interest in the water quality, the visual impact, and one of my personal peaks is public safety. I live on South Sampson Trail. We are zoned residential. The county is saying you will no longer be zoned residential. We will spot zone you. That's a really drastic change from what we bought our properties to expect, that we had residential zoning guaranteed. And what's more, the South Sampson Trail area neighborhoods that will lose their area of impact residential zonings are part of the safe route to school. No kidding, the safe route to school goes alongside South Sampson Trail to the schools, and it's utterly incongruent with residential zoning and safety for school children on the way to school to say we're going to spot zone it and consider commercial development, as you know you are doing right now, even though we're still zoned residential. So yeah, that's my main deal. I just think it's a very drastic and radical solution that does not need to be made in a hurry. Let's step back and run the process with the expertise that we have seen and heard represented in this room from both sides. It just takes time, and I think we have time. I know if you're going to make a change, that you have to make it soon, but I think that change could be minimal, or even to say, we're going to wait and revise our plan in conjunction with the city. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Rick Ryan. And then behind Rick is going to be Christopher Lawrence on Brookdale.
So what she said.
Good husband, good husband.
And just a few brief things I would add. And as I really appreciated the city's presentation because they really framed the issue in a lot of detail, like what's broken, challenges in the relationship administratively between the county and the city, and those kind of dynamics are fairly common in public administration. So the only thing I'd really add is that the storage unit issue was a case study in the difference between what we have management under now and what we might have if you sweep away the AOIs. I mean, I kind of expected we'd see, given the diversity of McCall as a more city-oriented kind of setting, a larger county, which is more rural, we expect that there would be a little more balance in the proposal coming out of the county. And I see no balance at all. 95% reduction was just shocking to eliminate that, because I know that our stake in McCall is being adversely affected by the developments and storage units that are proposed in our neighborhood. And so I would say that let's fix what we can. If you can come to agreement on changes in the AOIs consistent with the legislation, and then move forward to meet your hard deadline of the end of the year, but then not use that as a way to sweep it away the protections in the AOI parcels, and then address that through the comprehensive planning revision that's going to happen, where you'd have the time and you would have the attention, I think, of the larger community to address. So rather than trying to fix it now, all those particulars where there's a lot of disagreement, defer those kinds of things, try to come to agreement on certain things in terms of that just make good sense, to keep it or change it, and if change it, then okay, are we all in agreement that we can accept a certain amount of change? Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher Lawrence. Brookdale Drive.
Okay, Jerry and Paul Reberg. Jerry up first, and then Paul. Sherry Sonfeld. And then behind Sherry will be.
I'm here, Sherry. I know.
And then behind Sherry will be Larry Shake and then Joey Petrie.
Hi, thank you. Sherry Sonfield. I live in the Woodlands, McCall, very close to some of these properties, for 22 years. And I have heard some great comments today. Thank you all. Some problems, some misunderstandings, some great interpretations of everything, some great presentations. I think we need to continue down that road. I think we need to, and my request is that we continue, we take time, more time, we have more discussions about all of this. Some people need some of their concerns addressed, obviously, from what I've heard. Some of them are new to me. We need to clarify some misunderstandings. I mean, of course, water hookups cost money. So do sewer hookups because there's infrastructure involved. I mean, things like this, and I'm not faulting these people for their comments. They're honestly upset about them, and these need to be addressed. So we need a very thoughtful informational process. Hasn't really been totally that yet so far, except now, thank you. That includes all of Valley County to make informed decisions about this whole area of impact without unintended negative consequences to all of us in Valley County. A reduction of over 21,000 acres is huge, it's ginormous. And most of the reduction is around the area's drinking water source and most valued recreational amenity, Payette Lake. This impact alone requires a thoughtful process before taking the next steps in further action. So, and also, some comments today seem to have forgotten, although some commenters did mention, about the rights of property owners. We cannot forget that if those properties have been protected for decades. They could very well be very negatively impacted by this proposal to go to Valley County codes and one size fits all multi-use zoning things, and as opposed to this tailored quasi-cooperative city, county, mostly city zoning protections. That's a big change. And a person who for decades has had the property here could have something very different than what they think they're going to have next door. Those are called property rights, and I think everybody in this room values property rights a lot. So, and people who own property, myself included, we value consistency, predictability, and certainty. Oh, we haven't got any of this right now. We certainly don't have it in the Woodlands, but that's another story. I strongly encourage you to take time. Address the concerns that have been presented here. They're numerous. Please clarify the misunderstandings. There are some of those. And also, please make a decision after the McCall 2026 comprehensive plan has been
Thank you for your
done.
input.
And I think you have the time. I don't buy that you don't have the time for the state statute. And thank you very much, and thank you all for taking the time to comment.
Larry. And then after Joey, we're gonna take a short break. Everyone needs restroom facilities. They're down here to the right. We're downstairs. Larry, you're up.
My name's Larry Shake. I live at 1612 South Sampson Trail, just a few hundred yards out of the AOI. And I'm just praying to God I can get in. I have fought with the county with a crane yard 90 feet off my bedroom window in a residential area. You know, we don't have any protections, property protection for people that are building really nice homes in the county because they could have a pig farm move in next to them, which I really came close to have happening to me. Now, I have been there for 40 years, and it's been a struggle all the time. I think that the county needs to adopt regular zoning, folks. It's just a concept that everybody has except for Valley County. We need to have areas planned out where we're going to have industrial and where we're going to have commercial and what's going to be residential. What we want as residents, we want protection for our property. I also think, and some people have talked about it tonight or this afternoon, I went through economic development training with the city, and one of the things that happens in economic development is the idea that they send people looking for a place to move their business, and the first #1 rule is that these finders come into the community to see what the community's like, and the first thing they ask is, do the county commissioners and the city council get along? Do the water and sewer districts get along with the county? And how does the community pull together and get along? And that's what's driving our economic engine. We're driving people out like crazy because we have this inconsistency in our communities. And we need to straighten that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Joey.
Thank you, commissioners and folks, for being here. I didn't have a plan in mind when I showed up, but I'm going to repeat myself. We do not have any indigenous people responding to any of these things. This was their land taken at gunpoint hundreds of years ago, and it is still considered their homeland. Now, why is there not more consultation with the indigenous people who truly care about this place? And don't give me this, we've been here 4 generations stuff. I was at a ceremony where they sang a song that was 5,000 years old, and young people were singing it too. It's handed down from generation to generation for thousands of years, and we are on stolen property. Think about it. We are on stolen property. It was taken at gunpoint years ago, and nothing has been done to give it back. Now the same amount, approximately, okay, so the 1855 treaty, there was 80, let's see how many. There was like 854,000 square miles in the 1855 treaty. It was reduced in the 1863 treaty, which was called the Steel Treaty. It was decreased to 738,000 acres. So what you guys are doing now is the same as the Steel Treaty of 1868. Now, to me, that is unacceptable. Another thing about the Nez Perce, they didn't consider who owned land. It's natural. It's a natural, the law of nature is the only law they really go by. And all they ask for is to leave the earth as they found it. And us white people are not doing that. We're poisoning our water, we're poisoning our air, we're poisoning the earth. We do not care about anything but our bottom line, our businesses, and the cranes and the storage units and the blacktop. That's disgusting because you could see puddles of oil that go directly into our watershed. Now, if you can accept that, and each of you has stock in it. I know Cinda must have something going on, and I know Caitlin does, and I know Sherry does, and Neil and I...
Be careful what you are saying.
Pardon me?
Be careful what you're saying.
Okay, what I'm saying...
You are making accusations against...
I'm just saying this.
Better back that up.
Here's what I'm saying. I'm going to make an accusation that Neil had told me when I asked him when he was on P&Z. I asked him when he was on P&Z what he thinks about all the development. What do you remember what you said, Neil? You had your hand on the steering wheel and you said, "Let it go." That is unacceptable. That is not caring. Thank you very much. I just want to expose what I see as what's going on, and I get emotional about it. Pardon me.
We're going to take a short break. If anyone needs to use a restroom, feel free to do so now. We'll be back here within 10 minutes.
Is it online? You're beautiful.
I don't have a gavel, don't make me holler. Please, thank you. All right, up next, we did miss over Don Loja. So Don, if you're up next. Clerk Miller, are we back on?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think there's a maxim that's apropos in this situation, because I was shocked when I saw that you were proposing to reduce the impact area by 97%. I could understand you want to nibble around the edges a little bit and maybe take care of some problems. But this chainsaw approach, I think, is an overreach on the part of the commissions and on the part of the county. And the maxim is that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I haven't heard from the county exactly what the problems are. And so I would ask you to take a step backwards and say, what exactly is wrong here? If you look at the statute, which I think controls what you do, Section 6 says that the cities and counties shall review their existing areas of impact. That's all you have to do, is just review the existing areas of impact. The statute, Mr. Thompson, the statute, Ms. Maupin, doesn't require that you actually do anything, much less 97%. The statute is internally inconsistent, and I think you need to talk to your county attorney or attorneys about this. Section 1B says that the AOI shall be based on the ability and likelihood of a city to annex lands in the near future. The near future is a very ambiguous term, and it's very much open to the future, open to interpretation. In the future, in the near future, what does that mean exactly? Then you go down to Section 4B, and that's where it talks about where areas that are likely to be annexed to the city within the next 5 years, which you spoke to when we began. So you have an internal inconsistency in the statute, which I think you need to take into consideration. I would ask you to ask the county attorney about that internal inconsistency. And finally, Section 4E says that the applicable county's comprehensive plan and zoning and subdivision ordinances shall apply in the AOA. Well, as has been pointed out, you don't have any zoning in Valley County. So I don't think that this statute is applicable to Valley County. You know, this is a one-size-fits-all statute. And quite honestly, I don't think that it comprehends the situation in Valley County. So there's some internal defects here, and I would like you to please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Don, for your comments. Up next is Patty Young, then it will be Marcus McDonald and Eric Geisler.
Thank you, commissioners and city. I'm glad that we're here together talking about the situation. My name is Patty Young, and I live in the McCall area of impact as it currently stands. And I strongly oppose the county's proposed plan. I feel that it's a solution looking for a problem. When Senator Todd Lakey from District 12 introduced this bill that has been passed into law, he stated that his basic goal was to find ways to increase communications between cities with AOIs in close proximity to others to prevent conflicts and to prevent AOIs that are far beyond where cities expect to provide services. He was trying to fix a local problem in the Treasure Valley that existed between the cities of Star and Middleton, and to some degree in southwest Boise. He proposed a one-size-fits-all bill and assumes that there's the same kind of problems everywhere in the state of Idaho, which is not true. This is blatant government overreach and lazy governance. Now we see the process continue as the county commissioners want to propose this one-size-fits-all approach towards the city of McCall's area of impact. I also want to talk about Senator Lakey's bill, and he said to find ways to increase communications between cities. And I feel that this proposal does exactly the opposite. I feel that in the past, the city and the county have worked together to manage the AOI, and I've heard that they're a model of AOI governance for the state of Idaho. And I would like to see that kind of communication and working together and the solid leadership that you might be able to provide for the AOI and the city and the entire county. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your input, Patty. Marcus McDonald.
Similar to everybody else, very much thank you for the opportunity to be here and to hear the different point of views related to this. So once again, Mark McDonald, McCall, Idaho. I'm on here on behalf of my wife, Colleen, and my beautiful kids, Lydia and Reed. And I wanted to specifically state that I oppose the county's map. And three particular points I want to make related to that. One is the tenor, the relationship of the city and the county is the first one. And I go specifically to the statute that's been mentioned here on a number of occasions. Specifically in paragraph 1A, it speaks of the commissioners being representatives of the city and city citizens in the areas of impact. To me, being here today and hearing the statistics, I'm not sure I'm hearing that that's the case. Also in paragraph 1 in section C, it mentions that cities and counties should work together. To me, it doesn't sound, it's been pretty apparent that hasn't been the case here. And so my ask for the first bullet point is that that we fulfill the statutes and I guess the general expectations of the citizens of Valley County as well as the state, that you would work together in some way to find a middle ground of what makes sense. Second point, application of the rules. There's clearly disagreement related to that in the city of McCall and the county, and would ask, and I'm not exactly sure why that is. When we look at paragraph 4A and 4B, I think it was well referenced earlier, there's a mention of shall versus not required. I think my understanding is City of McCall has put forth pretty good analysis of exactly how they came to the conclusion of how they draw the map. And it's not aware to me that the county has been clear as to the science that it developed this map, and I think all citizens in the county should be aware of that. So once again, work together, show your science, and mutually agree in a good faith of what makes the most sense based on how you interpret not only the rules, but how you get there. And then personally, there's certainly concerns related to this. Many of them have been mentioned. The water concerns, also the development, some interpreting it as irrational and inconsistent, specifically upon 55. And then I began my comments with my kids, and I'm really concerned about what this might become for them. They're 8 and 10. What's important to them is that we have good development in the way that they can enjoy it, no different than how I have. So with that, I thank you for your time and hope that we can all come together to make a conclusion.
Thanks, Mark. Eric Geisler. And behind Eric is going to be Penelope Geisler and then Amy Manning.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Eric Geisler. I live in the current impact zone in the White Cloud subdivision, which is the only subdivision, the only area which has been excluded from both maps. And I am very upset with that, and I am not in favor of either of the current maps. I had a house in McCall in the city. I decided to move out of the city and specifically chose an area in the impact zone to be in the planning and zoning area of the city and to look forward in the future to being annexed into the city to receive some of the city services I was accustomed to in the city. That's not happening under either situation right now. In our subdivision, 25% of our lots sit within the current AOI. Of those, there are 8 houses, and at least 4 of us have expressed interest in staying within the existing impact zone where we currently are. Some of us have built, some of us have not yet built, but are planning on it. We are happy to be building under the city's codes and have found that the enforcement of those codes and the inspections that the city provides are very timely and very worthwhile. Yes, it has cost some of us extra money to build under those codes, and it would be a financial slap in the face to be set under the county code and have builders beside us under county code rather than under the city's codes. It also would mean that maybe our subdivision would not be residential any longer, but might be bordered by commercial or industrial uses. It's a financial hardship if you don't become part of a city and you can't get in fire insurance. All you have to do is look at what's happening in California and listen to some of the folks around the county now. Fire insurance is becoming more important and more difficult to get. And if you are not within a city or within an impact zone of a city, that can be a major barrier to people building or to people having insurance. Not having insurance is a major financial impact. Our area is within the required suggested radius of the city of 2 miles, and we would like to make sure that we stay within the city impact zone. We are opposed to the current proposals by both the city and the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Well, this conversation's come up a lot, and I want to clarify for a minute. So fire district, it has its own boundaries. It is not city or county. The same thing with the EMS district. So fire is not provided by the city of McCall. It is a fire district boundary.
The city provides fire hydrants that most people don't have outside city limits.
Okay. But it is still governed by a fire district. It's not city. And same thing for EMS. That's been raised quite a few times. So I just wanted to clarify that. So
Fire insurance, though,
Penelope.
fire insurance comes under the city. Fire insurance, the insurance companies look at the city, not the fire district.
Penelope Geisler?
She's fine.
Okay. Amy Manning, and then Matt Manning.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. A couple of things that have been listed before I wanted to reiterate. I do think it's difficult to have a public hearing over something that's this impactful during the day. I happen to have a job that I was able to take the afternoon off to be here, but I think a lot of people maybe are retired that are here, or people maybe don't have that opportunity to have that flexibility. So I would suggest that you have a public hearing after work hours for other people to attend. A couple other items. One, I know earlier was mentioned, so I've heard a couple of things said about how this works in other areas in the state of Idaho. The state of Idaho has 200 cities. Almost all of them have an impact area. It is common practice to have that buffer zone. I will admit that I'm much more familiar with southeastern Idaho, where I was born and raised. We've lived up in this area for 5 years now, but I can tell you my prior experience. I served 18 years as an elected official in southeast Idaho. Come from many different areas. My mother served in a county, I served in a city. I've had a lot of experience, firsthand of experience about how this works. I can give a few examples. Small city, city of Aberdeen, with about 800 people. They have an impact area. They work together with the county on that. City of American Falls, 4,500 people. Their code actually allows for, much like the joint thing has been happening here before, with some representation from both. The county does have the final say, but a hearing does take place in front of a city council also. there's many different ways to do this. City of Pocatello, much larger city, area of impact. Anybody who moves into an area of impact is used to having a buffer zone there where there are some more stringent code enforcement that occurs. And I should have mentioned, I live in an area of impact in the city of McCall. And so I did choose to live in that area. I was reading the code, and I think when the code says, when they wrote the code in the legislature, they assume that water and sewer are under the control of the city. I think that's why it lists there. This is different. There's a district for sewer here. I think the code is assuming that that's under the city's purview, which it's not in this case. So I think that's an issue with the code. There's a district involved in this area. Also, one item from the code I wanted to read directly from it. It's under section C. I'm afraid of my time, so I'm not going to give the whole thing, but I can give it to you later. But under section C, it states that prior to conducting the public hearings, the city and counties should work together to develop a proposed area impact. So they'd work together to propose that together. It's under the code here. And just one other quick thing. I know you mentioned budget. That for the budget reasons you're trying to reduce, I don't understand what impact this has under the city's budget or the county's budget. So I'd like to have an explanation on that, why that would be part of anything that's being decided on not taking longer to make this decision.
Thank you. Matt Manning?
Thank you very much. Matt Manning. I live in the area of impact in McCall, and I am all for cooperation between the city and the county, and I oppose the current reduction, county reduction in the AOI.
Thank you. Pam Weisenbach, and then Mike Weisenbach.
Commissioners, I want to say thank you for giving all of us a chance to voice our concerns, because I know it's a heck of a long meeting, so thanks, I appreciate that. My concern is that I want to see cooperation, and that's been said many times. The Valley County does not have a zoning. I live in the area of impact. I live in R1. It's zoned that, so I feel confident that we felt confident that we were going to have those around us, but without a zoning plan that you are proposing to take over so much of the area of impact, it's frightening. So McCall, the city of McCall already has a planning and zoning staff. They already have a comprehensive plan with zoning, and Valley County if you're going to do this, you need to take a plan with zoning, hit the staff before any changes are made. I feel very strongly about that. I grew up in a different state. I grew up on a ranch in Colorado, and we just went back last summer, saw many small mountain communities that did not have good planning and zoning. These cities have lost their appeal. They have become ugly corridors with just houses and businesses. And I don't want that to happen to Valley County. I live here by choice, and I really would love to have you two entities work together, because as a full-time resident, I feel so lucky to live in this amazing Valley County, and I'm asking you to please work together and keep the quality of life that we have.
Thank you, Pam. Mike?
Hi, I'm Mike Wissenbach, and I live in the area of impact in McCall. And I am opposed to the proposed reduction in the area of impact as put forth by the county. I'm worried that Valley County has lost its ability to protect the resources and the community character that have made it the great home that we know and that many people come to visit. Reducing the size of the area of impact, I believe, is short-sighted and ill-advised, and it's a move that leaves both the county and the city less able to protect the resources and manage the accelerated growth that we are witnessing. There's three parts to my concern, and the first one is the county's current plan without zoned uses is inadequate to address the type of development that we are seeing happening so quickly. A comprehensive plan should have zoned land uses that spell out desired future conditions in an area by area basis so that people know this is what expected in this particular area. And then a lot of the property rights that people have are dialed in. They know what to expect, and they know what their neighbors are going to be like. In addition, such plans should protect our resources, natural resources in particular, such as watershed and water quality, wildlife habitat and corridors, recreation and recreational access, visual resources, and scenic corridors. And all of those things can be protected by having some proposed and known desired future condition for an area. The other two areas that are concerned for me have already been mentioned several times. Number one is we have the county and we have the city, and there's lots of capability for both of these entities to work together. And so far, that's been a kind of a fractious step here, and I think there's a lot of room here to improve the work on designing this area of impact if both parties are full partners in that process. And then finally, this all has to happen before the current area of impact is dissolved, if that's what's going to happen. There has to be some plan in place prior to eliminating what already has occurred, and as the city has mentioned, has been in use for 5 decades. So that is my third concern. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your input. Les Roberts. Les Roberts, and then Paul Street is up after Les.
Good afternoon. Les Roberts from McCall area. I have property in the impact zone, and I disagree with the county's redoing of the impact zone because I don't think it goes far enough. I would propose that the impact zone be limited to the current city limits. And a lady earlier mentioned this. I think it's very critical. Those in the impact zone are bound by McCall's regulations, but we have no say whatsoever in the elections which determine those regulations. In my experience in construction, McCall currently lacks the infrastructure services to service the entirety of the city limits as they are. And I don't think it's reasonable that McCall will make those services available in the near future.
Thank you, Les. Paul Street, and then after Paul will be Scott and Connie Harris.
Madam Chairman, members of the commission, I hadn't really planned on speaking today, but having listened to everybody, I thought I'd put my 2 cents in here. I do think I own property in McCall in the city, own property in Boise, and my residence Boise, so I get to pay more property taxes up here and vote for none of you.
Thank you for your property tax.
So I make my contribution that way. I do think this is as pointed out, it's a very complicated set of issues. You've got people that are being impacted negatively by some of the things that are in the current impact area plan. And I would hope that the city and the county could work together and come up with a comprehensive plan that would work for almost all of us to maintain the character and the resources we have that make McCall and then Valley County a great place to live. So I appreciate your time. Serving in these roles I know is difficult. This statute is a mess, as Dawn pointed out. So I think you've got some flexibility in dealing with it. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Scott?
I'm Scott Harris. I live just outside the area of impact in McCall. And people have articulated very nicely what I have voiced as well in my letters, which I'm sure will have zero effect. But anyway, I just want to point out, I've heard the commissioners repeatedly lament the fact that they don't have adequate staffing to review complex projects. The city, on the other hand, has taken great pains now to start accommodating this growth and working on staffing to bolster that. Our lake is in jeopardy. If we have multiple use zoning around the lake, we'll have potentially higher density, higher use, commercial development, all of which add to the problem. So I have a concern about property rights for people that have built in the area of impact, have chosen to abide by the rules, the zoning rules, and now that's taken away, and we'll have a storage facility plopped into our residential neighborhood. We'll have the Achanis storage facility plopped on Sampson Trail Scenic Byway in the middle of residential areas. So I urge you to work with the city on this. The statute seems to me to say that this is a voluntary cooperative issue, and so I urge you to work with the city. I don't see the immediate rush here.
Thank you, Scott. You know, that information has got out about the county also, that we don't have current planning staff. I want everyone to know we have a full planning department. As a matter of fact, I think we have as many as McCall, if not one more. Plus, we have a full legal team. So I don't know where that information started, but we have 4 individuals in our planning and zoning.
I heard it at times of testimony. I heard it from the commissioners.
Sorry, I would refute that, but Connie?
No, thank you.
Okay. Deb Faraday? And then Rick's right behind.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you very much for allowing us to speak. My name is Deb Faraday of McCall, and our family also has a house in the AOI on Gladys Lane. I've heard a lot today about our natural resources and especially about water. That's been mentioned a couple of times. I'm speaking for myself today, by the way, not as the chair of the Watershed Advisory Group or the Big Pay Lake Water Quality Council. I've lived here my entire life, and I have seen, you know, the positive impact of the joint P&Z that's existed for almost 47 years. My dad was a Valley County Commissioner back in the late 80s and early 90s. And I've heard this talk today too, and I just appreciate everybody saying how we'd like to see the city and the county cooperate more. So I think that is a real main theme. If we can get some more cooperation, that would be great. So the neighborhoods in the existing area of impact have benefited from the codes that are in place now. Those areas would not be what they are today without the codes of the Joint Planning and Zoning Commission. So nowhere to date, except Valley County, and that's been talked about today, has there been such a drastic change in the AOI boundaries across the state. With 97% of that land area in the AOI taken away, I think that's really something, that's a big deal. We need to really take a look at that. So is the strategy merely making something simpler, or is the strategy to change things in a direction of creating more development? We know that development and growth is going to happen, but we do know that thorough and thoughtful planning of growth is really important to preserve our small towns and our small communities. So if your reasons for change are, number one, to make it easier, I would just like to say that the codes are in place. We do have codes that are there. Can the city and the county work together to keep the ones that are working. It sounds like there are some people that are pretty unhappy in the AOI about some of the codes. Can those be worked on instead of throwing out the entire work of many years? I believe the legislature maybe was unaware of unintended consequences of this law. In Valley County, there are sensitive areas around lakes and rivers and along our scenic byways that are vulnerable to big changes in zoning codes. What that means for water quality and land use for generations to come is a big question. I've got grandkids, you all have grandkids. We want them to be able to live here, and it's a really big deal. So thank you for your time, and I want to say one thing about the sewer. That's been a huge reason that you have listed for drawing the AOI line. And it's a given that that sewer system really is in need of fixing, but that's going to take dedicated leaders who are all willing to work together in a cooperative manner to deal with that. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Deb. Rick?
Hi, Rick Faraday, McCall. I'm not going to go into any of the old stuff. We've heard a whole lot of opposition to this ordinance, and I agree with 99% of it. But I do want to point out how good McCall has been to live in. You know, a lot of things. A couple that come to mind. McCall's foresight in banning most chains. I think everybody in McCall agrees that was a good thing. There was some opposition to that at the time, but that's been a great thing. McCall's dedication to protecting our environment. I think they've done a great job, especially with their stormwater systems, going for grants where they can get money to help with infrastructure. Because we live on a lake, and it's can be damaged easily. And the other big thing that I see here is the city AOI has, yes, 20-something thousand acres. But a whole bunch of that, I don't know the figure, is owned by the state of Idaho. And we all know what happened here a few years ago. The state came very close to selling that, and I think they will possibly sell that. And that property will ruin our, if that's developed, that will ruin our lake. We're done. The lake is done because of the runoff and just the extra development around the lake. It will ruin our lake and our community. So I think so it's 97%. Well, a big portion of that is that state land, and we need that in the AOI. The city of McCall needs that in the AOI. That's a special thing, and it shouldn't be booted out. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Up next is Ann Heater, and then Karen Morrow behind her. We're almost getting there. Just have a few more.
Good afternoon. I spoke briefly at the commissioners meeting on May 19th, and at that time I expressed that I did not want to be in an annexation area for the city of McCall, and thus, as I understood it, I didn't want to remain in the AOL. I didn't fully understand, some of the pieces of the law, but I was doing my best. I also at that time said that I believed that the current P&Z between the state and the city and the county needed to remain in place, that was super critical. Since that time, I've had conversations with different people, and I've come to realize that the new law driving these discussions, that there are multiple interpretations, and I think a lot of people have alluded to that as well. Being in the area of impact simply means that an area is close enough to a city that land use decisions might impact the city. Defining an AOI, and this is quotes, allow city residents to be part of planning discussions to ensure that growth is thoughtful and well managed, and that is critical. It seems that Valley County is intending to drop out of the zoning agreement with the city of McCall and instead revert to the county's single zoning approach for the areas around the lake. My place is out by Green Gate Snow Park, out Warren Wagon. I find this terrifying. The agreement with the city of McCall keeps a stricter zoning of the city in place around the lake. This zoning does a much better job of protecting the irreplaceable environs around the lake. It is critical that the county stick to the agreed upon code base with the city of McCall. I understand this may add more administrative effort, but isn't the lake worth it? It's also my understanding that the county and city can decide to leave things just the way they are for the time being. This would allow for additional planning on how to abide by the new law without permanently damaging critical areas. If the county is unwilling to maintain the current agreement with the city of McCall, then I absolutely would like to remain within the AOI. Thank you.
Aaron Morrow. She's gone. Judy Anderson. And right behind Judy is Chris Crookham.
Oh, hi. I'm Judy Anderson. I live in Lake Fork, but I live on the watershed. And Payette Lake and the land around it, especially in the north, is the source of our watershed. So I have vested interest in what happens here in this discussion. I've been to every AOI meeting, even the one last fall, when it looked like the city and county were ready to cooperate and work together like they had for decades, and I don't know what went wrong and why we have arrived at this impasse. But each of you commissioners at different times asked to see what codes needed to be improved to better protect water quality. And you have been given a comparison between the impact codes and the county codes. And there is a significant gap in protection for water quality. You have also been given the Soil and Water Conservation District's recommendations. So I think the geographical position of the lake vis-a-vis the impact area is challenging. It's irrational in a way. It doesn't make sense. The lake cannot be annexed. The lake doesn't have sewer and water issues. You know, what is the lake compared to fit into this impact area? And I think the statute talks about geographic factors being important to take into consideration. That is a geographic factor that has to be considered, maybe differently than all these other things. The lake needs protection. In fact, all the water bodies in the valley need protection. And many of us want to be assured that whatever is decided, the water bodies will be given the protection they need. The county needs to, and I think the county knows that, needs to update their codes to provide that protection. And those codes need to be in place. The ordinance passed with public input before any changes take place to assure us all that that source of drinking water, that lake, that beating heart of our community will be protected. So please make sure that you have those codes updated, that the ordinances are passed, and that you have the capabilities to enforce them before you do anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Chris Crookham.
Thanks. My name is Chris Crookham. I reside in Boise. I have property just north of Club Road, and we are row crop farmers in Canyon County. So 3 different types of property that I deal with. I would like, right now I'm not within the city, but with your new plan I would be, and I want to be with the city. The city has zoning ordinances. It will protect my property rights because I will know what is going to happen with my property and surrounding it. The other thing that we found in Canyon County is zoning codes for agriculture are key. So our ordinances, the comprehensive plan, and more importantly, zoning ordinances are the only thing that are going to save agriculture, They're the only thing that's going to save you from having an industrial plant next to you. And I know that because we have a plant, an industrial plant, and we're in an area zoned for the plant. Believe you me, nobody wants to live by us. And so without any kind of zoning, you are going to open this up to chaos. It just makes no sense. And I have to let you know that there was a group of farmers that opposed this bill. We never believed it was about areas of impact. We always believed that it was about making it easier for development and growth interests to build large lots and large area subdivisions on agricultural land. So that is, and we are still fighting this legislation. We think it's ineffective, and we don't think it represents the core of Idaho and its agricultural communities. So I would urge you to get your zoning and zoning ordinance in first, and then talk to the city about an area of impact. The last thing, in just looking at the website for the county, I looked at each of your bios, and you sound like great individuals with a lot of experience, but I would like to see that you might have some development interests. And just to be transparent with people, let us know about your business. Let us know how you are going to deal with that. If you have any kind of interest in it, let us know, just so we can feel more trust in what you're doing. So that's what I ask. Do you have any questions for me? I think I covered what I wanted to cover. One more thing. We're finding that cities are more sympathetic to agricultural protection than counties in a lot of areas.
We have a strong APA, so if you're interested, please. We have a very strong board for our agricultural.
I think that's great. For those that are interested, it's not going to protect agriculture. The only thing that's going to protect ag is zoning ordinances. You don't have any.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak that did not have a chance? Okay, gentleman here, Rebecca, and back of him.
Good afternoon. My name is Drew Kirk. My family's been homeowners in Valley County in the area of impact since 1962. I've spent my life watching McCall grow and change. I've seen firsthand what happens when growth is done right, with adequate planning, community input, and a shared vision for the future. That's why I'm speaking against the proposed reduction of McCall's area of impact from over 22,000 acres down to 685. It's been that way for 50 years, and I'd like to see it continue. Let's be absolutely clear about what this change means. It's not about regulation, it's about less. If this proposal moves forward, hundreds of landowners just outside these city limits will no longer benefit from McCall's established planning and zoning protections. Instead, they will be exposed to unregulated development dictated by vague or inconsistent county standards, or in some cases, no meaningful oversight at all. We've seen what happens when other resort towns experience vacuum forms like this. One, towns like Truckee, California, unchecked development outside city limits, overwhelm local resources, roads, water, emergency services, leading to costly reactive solutions. Impact fees, coordinating planning later became essential to catch up. Jackson Hole, Wyoming, experienced rapidly rising housing costs, second home development. The community lost important workforce classes, prompting stricter zoning and rental regulations too late. 3, Big Sky, Montana. A lack of oversight led to runoff, septic issues, wildlife conflicts, resulting in lawsuits, expensive mitigation efforts that proactive planning could have prevented. Number 4, economic development depends on predictability. That's the key, what we've had with McCall, being collaborative with the county. Whitefish, Montana, consistent extraterritorial zoning helped preserve brand identity and attract quality development. Removing the regulations often creates the opposite effect. Uncertainty deters investors. And number 5, over in Blaine County, over the hill in Ketchum, Idaho, has a joint planning authority that's been successful with the county and has aligned their zoning standards to manage growth, protect scenery, and bolster local collaboration. That is smart growth. We can learn from that. The area of impact exists for a reason. It gives the city and the county a shared framework to guide development near our boundaries, to protect things like water, access, roads, wildlife corridors, and yes, property values. It gives landowners predictability, ensures that you built next to me, it's not a gravel pit nor a 50-unit rental complex with no water plan or a pig farm. Striking the AOI to just 685 acres means saying, you're on your own. See ya. It creates a two-tier system where some landowners are protected and others are left vulnerable, not by choice, but because we drew some arbitrary new line on the map. With development pressure mounting down the hill in Treasure Valley, I'll hurry up. Now is the worst possible time to pull back on coordinated planning. If anything, we should be strengthening the area of impact, not getting it. Ask yourself, who benefits from this change? Who pays the price? Thanks.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Rebecca Hurd, McCall, and I'm representing my family. We are your fellow community members and your constituents. We are not experts in Idaho statutes, planning, and zoning. We are assuming you're going to proceed with the McCall AOI map you've created given your comments to date. So now we ask you, now what? Focusing on two concerns, though there are many. Concern one, at the macro level, we have an overdue need for comprehensive county-wide zoning plan map and ordinances. Multi-use, single land use zone is not a plan. It's often touted as most flexible. It does not mean it's best for our community, and it fosters so much subjective decision-making. Property rights must be balanced with community impact. At your May 27th meeting, your McCall AOI workshop lasted for 74 minutes. I watched the recording, I took so many notes, as the meeting minutes for the discussion was 23 lines in length. Topics included, and not in the minutes, was whether there would be, quote, an emergency created by the county's AOI map and a potential, quote, rush on development, and if you need to consider a moratorium. Commissioner Maupin, in that discussion, though not in the minutes, you said, I will make my statement on record. I would love to see Valley County zoned. It's time we do that. What would it take to move from your desire to make it a reality? To each of you, what would it take for you to engage with your constituents on an ongoing basis? For that to be just the way we do things in Valley County. This one required public hearing is not community engagement. Commissioner Caldwell, you stated in the spring at an AOI workshop in McCall that it would make sense to hold future hearings and workshops there. Yet here we are, you chose collectively to hold this hearing in Cascade 2 p.m. on Monday. That guarantees lower turnout. Concern two at the micro level, Chris Lane, our home. It's a small subdivision. It has 9 lots, ranging in size from 5 to 20 acres, with 3 undeveloped lots and agricultural land adjacent. We are zoned rural residential, and our CC&Rs call for 1 single-family home per lot. Those data points will become immaterial, as well as any protections, if we are no longer in the McCall AOI, and if you choose to not keep any of the current regulations. There are so many more questions to ask other than, do you want to be in the McCall AOI or not? So now back to now what? What if you respond to McCall's city request for a map by August 14th, which creates a false sense of urgency with your proposed map and nothing else yet? Your map may change between now and the Idaho statute of December 31st deadline if you prioritize the next 5 months and 3 weeks to engage your constituents and work with officials to determine your final map. Then it's a phased approach, and it's all your choice. Thank you for listening.
Is there anyone else?
I'm Marnie Sell. I live in the Woodlands. I bought Border. I wasn't sure if I would speak today, but I'm very glad that I came, and I appreciate this opportunity for all of my fellow community members to share their opinions or their knowledge and their experience, their history. I've heard a lot from the city of how they came up with the criteria for those boundaries. I haven't heard a lot about how the county came up with the boundaries. and I hope that that is addressed. I hope that we continue to discuss, and I hope that everyone works together, because it's clear that this is a passionate issue. It's clear that there hasn't been enough discussion, and I just hope that everybody works together to save our community.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? All right. That is the end of our list. So as stated up front, we will table this conversation and restart it on, well, we will table it. We're closed to public input now, but we will discuss this on July 23rd at 2 o'clock and spend some time just reviewing what your comments were today. We always appreciate hearing it. I know that it is frustrating to people to have these during the day. Commissioner meetings are always 8 hours long on a day of the week. And in order to do it elsewhere, we bring all of our staff and our teams and everything else. And so it is more difficult. And it's always a balance between how we do that. We do take input, always. We read every single letter that we get, every email that we get, and listen to all of the input there. So I know that that's a frustration at times, so.
Chairman, you've closed the public hearing then?
Yes.
And you're gonna continue this
The
to
discussion, yeah.
July 23rd again?
Correct.
Need a motion to table?
All right, thank you for coming today, for giving us your thoughts and your input.
Okay, so what does that mean? Will the discussion be live or not? Will that discussion be live?
Sure.
It's always live.
On the
You
23rd?
can come and join us.
July 23rd. It doesn't become